Can you really grow pansy indoor using an AeroGarden? I wasn't sure either, especially since pansies are usually considered part-shade, cool season flowers. But inspired by the book Pansies by Brenna Estrada, I decided to try growing antique shade pansies indoor through winter using my AeroGarden. In this video, I will share my full setup from water and fertilizer choices to lighting concerns, a seed pod failure, and how I still end up with beautiful winter bloom right on my kitchen countertop. If you're gardening in a small space or facing a long Zone 5 winter, let's get started. I started setting up my AeroGarden at the end of October. First, I placed the pump into the base and made sure it was positioned correctly. Then I plugged the unit into the stand where it connected directly into the power outlet. Once everything was connected, I carefully covered the base, making sure all the parts were secure and ready to use. This is why the flower kit my best friend gave me a few years ago at the same time she gifted me this AeroGarden. The kit comes with fertilizer A and B for seed pots, 4 grow baskets to hold the pots, 4 grow domes that act like humidity domes until the seed germinate, and 4 pot labels to keep everything organized. And of course, it originally came with the white flower seeds, but for this project, I will be using pansy seed instead, nature antique shades, viola from the Johnny selected seeds. The reason I chose pansy is because I was so inspired by the book Pansies by Brenna Estrada. It felt like a perfect match for growing flowers in AeroGarden. You might remember that last year I grew a dwarf tomato, orange hat, in my AeroGarden. I will link that video below so you can see how it turned out. This time I want flowers that stay compact, have short stem, and continue blooming so I can enjoy them right on the kitchen countertop. The one thing I was little concerned about was light. Pansy usually consider part-shade plants, so I wonder if they could handle the bright glow light of the AeroGarden that's designed for vegetables. According to the book, pansy can handle full sun as long as they have consistent moisture, and with an AeroGarden, water is never an issue, it's always there. There's so much useful information in this book, and I have actually reviewed it in a separate video. If you're interested, you can check out what I learned from Pansies using the link in the description below. Now, back to the setting up the AeroGarden. Normally, the AeroGarden uses its own liquid plant food, and honestly, I'm not sure what made me decide to stick with the standard AeroGarden fertilizer, the one I use for vegetables. For this setup, I added 4 ml of the plant food to a liter of the water, which is full capacity of the water tank. It probably doesn't matter right now since seeds don't actually need fertilizer to germinate, and the AeroGarden won't remind you to add more until 2 to 3 weeks in. For the next round of fertilization, I will switch and use the fertilizer that comes with the white flower kit instead. Next, I put the lid back on and made sure the water level was filled to the correct line. While that was set, I pre-soaked the seed pods in the water for about 5 minutes. After that, I placed the grow basket into the deck, followed by the seed pods. I added 2 seeds to each pod, just in case not all of them germinate. Then I label each basket to the pot stickers, cover them with the grow domes. And finally, I pressed and held the button to start the system. You can see the pump turn on right away, as well as the light with the water beginning to bubble up. And now we are all set. Within 2 weeks, all my seedling had germinated. Just like with traditional seed sowing, once you see more than half of the seedling sprouting, it's time to remove the humidity domes. During this time, I also keep a close eye on the water level and refill it as needed. I usually fill my AeroGarden with purified reverse osmosis or RO water. We have an RO system at home, and that's the water we use for all our indoor plants. It works really well with a system like AeroGarden because it removes dissolved salts, chlorine, and minerals that can build up over time. Once I saw the red blinking alert, I knew it was time to fertilize. This time I decided to switch and use the fertilizer that came with a wildflower kit. Since this is a flower plant, I'm hoping this will encourage more bloom rather than just leafy growth. To prepare the fertilizer, I fill bottle A and bottle B with 100 ml of water each, then shook them well to mix the plant food evenly. Once you mix with the water, it can last for about 5 months. The recommended ratio is 5 ml of bottle A and 5 ml of bottle B per liter of water. My AeroGarden holds about 1.2 liter of water, but that's close enough to 1 liter, so I went ahead and added 5 ml of each bottle. Now we'll see how the pansy responds to this flowering-focused fertilizer. By the end of November, I noticed that the middle pot didn't look as healthy as the others. Eventually, I suspected that it might be because I added too many seeds on top. The root may not have grown all the way down into the water, which could have caused the plant to decline. I'm not completely sure, but to be safe, I decided to remove and discard the pot. Since the AeroGarden is a shared water system, I didn't want to risk any potential disease or contamination spreading through the water and affecting the other pots. Finally, the buds appeared, and just before Christmas, the plants began to bloom. The colors were incredibly bright when the flower first opened. Over time, they slowly softened and aged into those beautiful antique shades. My hope was to get more of these antique or peach tones from the top, and so far they have been performing really well. I did notice some foliage with slightly burnt edges, most likely because the grow light is a bit strong for pansy, even in a hydroponic system, but honestly that didn't bother me too much. The plant on the inner side grew more slowly than the others, but with time it's almost caught up, and eventually it bloomed as well. Seeing this flower bloom on the countertop after weeks of care made the whole process feel completely worth it. By mid-January, both remaining plants were completely filled in. If you didn't look closely, you would never even notice that the middle pot was missing. They were constantly blooming, and honestly, it was so much fun. I really enjoy not having to bend down to the floor just to deadhead flowers. Everything was right there at the countertop level. And this brings us to the end of the video. I have to say pansies are a plant I would absolutely recommend for growing in AeroGarden. They are easy to care for. Their height is very manageable, and I only had to adjust the light once, unlike something like dwarf tomato, which quickly can take over the entire system. I hope you had fun and enjoy watching this video as much as I enjoy growing these pansies. If you have any suggestions for what plant I should try next in my AeroGarden, please leave a comment and let me know. Until next time, bye!